Following the divergent views of many Nigerians across all walks of life on the topical issue of genetically modified organisms, Nigeria's government has called for a scientific and researchable effort in tackling it for food security. This is even as experts warn of the dangers of consuming genetically modified foods, given their health implications on consumers in Nigeria and some nations of the world. Speaking at a joint public hearing in Abuja, organized by the House of Representatives Committee on Agricultural Production, Privatization and Commercialization, Public Assets, Science Engineering, and Special Duties over the merits and demerits on the health and environmental implications of consuming genetically modified organisms through crops. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Senator Abubakar Kyari said the federal government would not intentionally do things to destroy the lives of its citizens. While noting that the President Bola Tinubu-led government is committed to food security and safety, Kyari appealed for a common ground between those in favor and those against the use of GMOs.
Some of the seeds that we see that are out there that we have been using are also modified. So I've asked this question several times. I have engaged Professor Mustafa there. I have engaged Professor Sharubutu and Dr. Khalid on the issue of GMO. And I think this is a very good forum for them to speak, and we all collectively make up our own idea whether it is acceptable or not. And the issue is, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, I refer to you colleagues because I was here before, and I believe that once we can draw that line between varieties that will harm human health or the environment, then I think we can move forward in trying to see what is the best. Because we are challenged right now. We have a seed problem in the country.
According to the Biosafety Agency, there's no doubting the fact that advances in biotechnology through the comprehensive understanding of the structure and sequence of genes in DNA have made it possible for scientists to manipulate genes for both positive and negative purposes. GMO crops was first commercialized in Nigeria in 2016. However, prior to its approval, rigorous safety assessments and management were conducted, and so far, there has not been any scientific record of concerns regarding the safety of such approved crops in Nigeria.
When we're talking about GM foods, it undergoes rigorous safety evaluations globally. And these assessments include 3,500 independent regulatory agencies worldwide giving biosafety approvals. Also, National Biosafety Management Agency is equipped with the task of making sure that all agencies, all research institutes, all universities that practice modern biotechnology are regulated by the agency.
We have approved and released in this country are Nigerian-made, Nigerian investigated in our own laboratory. The laboratory in the Institute for Agricultural Research actually undertook the investigation and the crossbreeding of one genetic material into the other in order to protect us from Maruca. The second one is the telomerase. It was again done here. There is no laboratory in its own single fashion that can incubate research and conclude on its own. We look for genetic material from one laboratory to the other, either within the country or outside the country. Secondly, sir, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has an inbuilt safety measure within it. And what are the safety measures? By the time you are bringing in any foreign material from outside, if you go to the airport, you will see our soldiers or our parasecurity men dressed in green.
Meanwhile, lawmakers asked for clarifications on the health implications in consuming GMOs without protection from relevant government agencies charged with the responsibility to protect citizens.
How will smallholder farmers be protected from dependency on patented GMO seeds if we continue in this line? And the second question is, what independent bodies are tasked with monitoring the impact of GMO use in Nigeria?
Quite agree with my brother here. The money that of some of us that are interested in that, the money that are invested in promoting GMOs across Africa is far better than the money appropriated by United Nations to kick out poverty in African countries. Then the question is why? Before GMOs, do we eat? Answer is yes. Before GMOs, do we live? Answer is yes. Before GMOs, are we comfortable? The answer is yes. Even though, even though we have food insecurity, I believe Nigerians' food insecurity is not relegated, is not subjected only to succumb Nigeria to admit to the use of GMO, where so many questions were not being answered.
However, government regulators and a coalition of civil society organizations had different opinions as both sides defended their positions for and against GMO.
While we acknowledge the concerns surrounding the safety and regulatory oversight of GMOs, it is important to note that scientific evidence strongly supports the safety and benefits of genetically modified organisms in the country. Contrary to the claims, GMO have undergone comprehensive testing and have been proven to be safe for human consumption in the developed countries for over 3 decades now. Furthermore, they have the potential to increase crop yields, enhance nutritional content, and reduce the reliance of harmful pesticides used in agriculture.
Nigeria is not yet ripe for genetically modified organisms. And the reasons are very clear. I'm a scientist. I'm a researcher. I'm heading a Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research in a university here in Nigeria, and I've studied across the globe. Genetically modified organisms that we are referring to here in Nigeria are transgenic. That means genes are exported from other organisms across species barriers into organisms that they were not supposed to be there or naturally. For example, genes that confer the ability of a snake to have venom can be extracted and inserted in a crop or in any other organism that will confer that ability in that organism.
Assessments. We have asked many of them several times for risk assessments, and they never provided it to us. And that's because the risk assessment that was used in Nigeria from information from NBMA is from the FSA risk assessment, which is just for 2 years. And 2 years is not enough to evaluate the impact of GMOs on our health, on our environment, and also generally. Because there's sufficient proof that there's a 16-year research in Canada that shows that the use of pesticide increased by 244% when they kept using GMO crops. And I'm happy that she stated that pesticides cause cancer, because they really do cause cancer. There's sufficient research. There is a republished research by Professor Seralini that proves that GMOs cause tumors and cancers.
Earlier, the lead chairman of the Joint Committee and the Speaker of the House of Representatives urged all stakeholders to contribute to the discussion without biases, as the committee is not out to witch hunt anybody, but get submissions from experts and submit its recommendation to the House.
It's also to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the introduction of the genetically modified crop, GMC, into the Nigeria by the National Biosafety Management Agency to assess the potential health and environmental risks associated with it. Honorable colleagues, the significance of these two investigations cannot be overemphasized as they play a crucial role in the national food security and the potential health and environmental concern to the Parliament under the leadership of Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas.
I'm very certain and convinced with the array of colleagues assembled here, I'm very, very certain that they have the capacity and the capability to thoroughly investigate this matter and do justice to the matter. On the other hand, having related with the minister and the ministry, I'm equally very convinced that as Nigerians, we will do justice to the issues concerned.
However, addressing the media after the committee sitting, 92 African civil society organizations have called on the House of Representatives not to allow the consumption of GMOs owing to the rising cases of cancer and other related illnesses allegedly traceable to the use and consumption of GMO.
Was going to create genetic materials that were going to be used to attenuate African populations and to kill Africans. And that is where the strategy for genetic modification for South Africa came from, and that is also where the use of HIV that was injected in SADC was also created. Now, many of you would know that there's an institution called SIMA that has got commanders of that institution that have begun to admit that they deliberately injected HIV into Africans.
This is a battle that must be fought and won, because the overall long-term effects of consumption of GMO foods and the pattern of consumption, and whether you are going to create seeds from the food, whether you are going to transform the GMOs into LMOs, is a difficult concept to even convey to all of you here.
With the issue of GMOs in agriculture being an ongoing global debate with two broad opinions, Nigerians are waiting to see how the government will scientifically prove the anti-GMOs wrong and that GMO is the game changer to save Nigeria from hunger through improved yield and healthy food for consumption. Annie T. Patrick, Core TV News, Abuja.